And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. I'm Gary Kaltbaum, your host. Hey, thanks for being with us today. Glad you're here, ladies and gentlemen. Happy that you are listening. It is Tuesday, May 27th, 2025. Hope you are having a good day. Hope you had a good 3-day weekend. I was up in the Northeast. I was going to do the show on Friday, and I had like a little emergency about 15 minutes before I was going to go on the show. So I want to thank Adam for doing the show on Friday. But we are here. We're back. We're in Florida. It's 90 degrees. Hung out with the dad and the grandson while I was up there. Father, I got it. Just so you know the story, when he was in the hospital, the rabbi came in. The doctor came in and gave me this look. My father wasn't responsive. He had pneumonia. He had fluid on the lungs. And I'm thinking, like, this is my goodbye. And the night passed. And the next morning, amazing to them, the pneumonia went bye-bye. The fluid on his lungs left. And all of a sudden he's up and he's got his, brains working well and all that crap. And since he's home, weak as all hell, he's going to be 94, needs help walking, doing everything, and we have round-the-clock help. But, wow, huh? That's the story of, excuse me, the dad. And he's doing good. And that's that. While I was gone on Friday, more tariff news. And then over the weekend, more tariff news. And I must tell you that I hate talking about tariffs because they matter so much. Here's why. Do you remember that pause? You know what day that was, right? It was April 9th. It was really April 7th on a Monday. But they didn't like that it got leaked out, so they said, no, we're not doing it. And they waited till Wednesday. And we got a pause on all those tariffs they were going to do. You remember on that Wednesday, the week before, in the Rose Garden, he puts out a post of the president tariffing everybody, which means tax the hell out of all of us. So I would just want to make a point that if the president, and look, this is what we're dealing with. We don't pull punches here. We mean business. If the president decided tonight to put those tariffs back on, the ones that he paused on, if he decided to go backwards on China and did the whole Megillah, the Dow that closed at 42.3, I think would open up at 38,000 tomorrow. No, I'm not kidding. And that's what we're working under right now. And how do we know we're working under that right now still? So last week, the market had a normal pullback. We'd gone up nicely, pulled back for a couple of days, but then we're hearing the rumblings. We're hearing the rumblings about the European Union and tariffs. What? Huh? And the president put on 50% tariffs on the European Union to start June 1st. So last week, the Dow that hit 42,842 on Monday hit 41,354 on Friday. 1,500 Dow points. And may I quote the president when he said, we do not have any interest in any deal. June 1st, let me get my dates right, 50% tariff on everything that comes in from the European Union. Over the weekend, the president said, well, everything looks a little bit better right now and this, that, and the other thing, and we're not going to do the 50% on June 1st. We're going to push it off to July 9th. That's that 90-day pause window. So today, the Dow gets back 740 points to close at 42,343. Still 500 points off of the high of last Monday. But this is why we bring it up. We are still at the mercy of the President of the United States and his whims on tariffs. Just letting you know. And let me repeat, not only tariffs, but exemptions. In case you do not know, he gave Apple a big exemption, but all of a sudden he's now pissed off at Apple for whatever reason. It's Monday. So what if the president decides to get rid of the exemption on Apple? Apple stock will get trashed, and other technology stocks will go along with it. Now, where I stand at this juncture, I believe this is tax policy, and I believe that the court should stop the president from all this. It's ridiculous. It's insanity at this point. 145% tariffs? 100%, 50%, 25%, 75%. That product, this product, that country, that country. This is sheer insanity. The good news, what we do know is the president watches every tick in the stock market and leave no doubt, and excuse the way I put the verbiage on this, wimps out on his tough talk every time. Every big tariff has been taken off. And there's still just so you know, there have been no trade deals. You had one you sat down with the UK, they're going to buy some Boeing planes. That's not a trade deal. There's nothing with the European Union. There's nothing with China as of yet. And he said until we have trade deals, but that's obviously not true. But I just wanted to start the show with, we're still, unfortunately, a lot about the tariffs. And let's hope that the market is bigger than his thought process. And what I mean by that is he's got to know by now he'll crash the markets if he goes back the other way. If he doesn't, then he's an idiot. And I don't think the guy's an idiot. In fact, he's got the greatest golf courses too. So, we love about half the things he has done. We loathe the other half. I don't think there's really any in between on things that the president does, I must tell you. But I do believe what he's done at the border overrides a lot of what I don't like. He's saving lives at the border. He's saving lives by shutting down the border. No doubt. Anyway, just wanted to start with that because we had a very good day off this pullback. And I must tell you, I wasn't surprised that we bounced. I'm very surprised about how strong it was. But then again, the tariffs. They're so darn meaningful. I don't even know where to start how meaningful they are. Especially when you're like 50%, 100%. You may not know this, but that's insanity. It's crazy. It's nuts. And I loathe the Republican Party for not taking him on. They're a bunch of wimps. They're so afraid of him. Nobody even wants to say, well, you're wrong. That's why I handed to Rand Paul and a couple others for taking him on. So that's basically the story. Very good day today, and I'll tell you where it was a very good day also. Very good day in what I call the beta. and technology. That type of stuff. And let's hope it continues, because more and more names are setting up, and the more and more names that set up, the better. More and more names are coming up the right side, the better. Up next, we shall continue. I got to introduce myself. This is the one and only Investor's Edge. Okay. This is Investor's Edge. Serious talk on everything that affects you, the markets, the economy, your job, your industry, and everything else that moves things around. We intersperse, notice the big word, politics and the markets and the economy. We used to only do markets, but we had to introduce politics into the fray. Why? 37 trillion of debt. Of course, they're killing us long term. You know that. We're finding out massive corruption by the people that tell you how much they care about you. You know how much they care about you. They have you in their mind. They want to do well for you. Yes, sure enough. Right? 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 Other things. The Republican bill. Here's the good news. The big, beautiful bill is too big, is not beautiful. It's another nonsensical, raise more debt, lies by the Republican Party. Thankfully, some people in the Senate are taking it on, and I'm a big believer that a lot of it's going to get changed. That's what we want to see. We want spending cut. No. When we say spending cut is not knocking out or lowering the rate of going higher. In other words, we're not interested in a 10% increase and then cutting 2%. We're interested in cutting. Makes sense? And the con artists in the Republican Party from the top down are lying to you about the bill and what it does. Their only answer is, well, growth will take care of everything. Well, they don't know that. That's number one. Number two, they've told us that for 20 years, and growth has not taken care of everything. They are full of crap. So we are taking them on, and we're not mincing words. In politics, you have a certain amount of time of what we call opportunity. There is a great opportunity for these people to be heroes for the taxpayer. Heroes for the taxpayer. And what that means is, don't grow the spending. Pretty simple, huh? Don't grow the spending. Instead, they are growing the spending. And we are tired of it. Big time tired of it. We love the permanency of the tax cuts, though I would have made it 28%, not 37% at the high end. I'm a Reagan guy. I think 28% is a good number. Why? At 37%, you live in a bad state. You're working into the month of July before you make your first frickin' dollar. And if you want to know what we mean, over the last 10 years, the U.S. federal government revenue that we have sent to them has increased 60% to $5 trillion. But government spending has increased 95% to $7 trillion plus. It's them. You got that? So that bill, let's hope that we get rid of it. Let's hope they cut it down to the bone. And let me go one further. New York Times op-ed from a guy named Peter Orszag. I believe he is now chief executive and chairman of Lazard, a very good firm. He was the head of the Office of Management and Budget for Obama. He puts in an op-ed, I was Obama's budget director. It is time to worry about the national debt. Here's what I say to Peter Orszag. Up yours, pal. What did you do in your time of the OMB with Obama? You spent us into oblivion. I loathe these people, the grapefruits of this guy, to put out an op-ed. It's time to worry about the national debt when he never gave a damn about it when they were in power. Ass clown. Unbelievable, the nerve of them. Yeah, and it's time to worry about the national debt now. Go look at Obama and what his debt was for 4 years. Every year, boom, boom, boom. Then again, though, he's a piker compared to Biden. And he's a piker now compared to Trump. Trump, if this bill goes through, will run more debt on a yearly basis than Biden. Yet the Republicans blasted Biden for his debt and spending. Want you to remember all this. Remember, we have no agenda, ulterior motive, or bias, and we definitely have no bias. Back on the markets. If the QQQ breaks above 523, if the SP, which is the NASDAQ 100, if the SPY breaks above 595.54, we're going to head to the old highs, which is amazing considering. We were in trouble with the market because of tariffs. Then Trump crashed the markets because of his super tariffs. Then Trump bottomed the markets with the pause of the tariffs. And then Trump got it really going with the big pause on China. Then we dropped back down off of the European Union. And now he's backed away from that overnight. And we get a bunch back today of what we lost last week. So we are tariff-centric when it comes to the market right now. I'm crossing my fingers as I speak to you in hopes he don't go backwards. If anybody listening knows him well, speak to him. And I actually blame myself. I should have gotten my arse in there to Mar-a-Lago and got into conversation with him. I think I could have convinced him. No, really, I think I could have convinced him. And that is that. If the QQQ and the SPY take those out. Let me go one further. The big banks, they got hit last week. Goldman right back up $17 today. Not even 3%, but a big 3%. JP Morgan almost 2%. If they go topside, you know what we think. Up next, do we think they're going to go topside? We'll answer that and much more. I'm Gary. This is the one and only Investor's Edge. Let me give you some other good news today. Good news. Good news, Gary. The 10-year yield dropped 0.75 down to 4.434. On Thursday, it hit a high of 4.629. That is really good news if it continues. You got that? It is really good news if that continues. Under no uncertain terms, if yields come down now, that would be very good news. I get asked a lot, how are they going down when debt keeps going up? Well, we are the United States of America, and They're still taunting the world, and hopefully I will be gone when this all blows up, because it will. Leave no doubt. Debt does that. And just remember how this happened. Remember how this happened. They got to 10 billion in debt, and they said the world didn't end, let's go 12. At 12, the world didn't end, let's go 15. At 15, the world didn't end, let's go 18. At 18, the world didn't end, let's go 21. And so on and so forth. And you know what Biden said? Screw it. I'm just going to supersize this crap. Then again, we're not so sure it was Biden. I don't know if you've been reading all this crap. All of a sudden, the media has seen God. Yeah, we weren't sure, but we're all watching the guy. Can't even put 4 sentences together. God only knows who was at the helm. We're never going to know, I gather. Back on the bill. The bill raises the child tax credit to $2,500 from $2,000, no biggie. The bill raises the state and local tax deduction to $40,000 for people making $500,000 or less. It was $10,000. Those are people that get to write off local and state taxes. The bill achieves no tax on Social Security by increasing deductions for seniors. I might have to double check that out. The bill eliminates taxes on tips and overtime. I'm very worried about that. You know why, right? Why wouldn't a restaurant at this point pay everybody a very small salary, much smaller, and everything else tips? All of a sudden, people aren't paying taxes. And when people aren't paying taxes on their income, who does that hit? It hits all of us. Now, I like it for firemen and policemen and women. Not so sure on everybody else. The bill starts Medicaid work requirements beginning in December of 26. I like that. Auto loan interest tax deductible, but I believe it has to be made in the United States. Of course, the bill raises the debt ceiling by $4 trillion, but who's counting? I think that's about all I need to cover. I think that's all I need to cover. The bill sucks. The Gary Kaltbaum bill would not increase debt by one dime. By one dime, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, I'm just looking again at this budget director guy, Peter Orszag. I was Obama's budget director. It's time to worry about national debt. Do you even think this guy looks in the mirror and says, what a schmuck I am for writing this op-ed when I was there with Obama for how many years as budget director, watched Obama supersize debt at that point in time? But now all of a sudden I'm going to write an op-ed. And he didn't. And interesting, he's a Dem. He didn't write this op-ed during Biden. These people are such scum. And by the way, I'd say it to their face. You do know that, right? They're scum. God, it irritates the hell out of me. It really is. It really does. Semiconductors lit up like a pinball machine today. Let me give you a little number on that. The SMH, if it breaks above 249.44. But NVIDIA reports after the close tomorrow. I've been asked 100 times today what I think, and I answered every time, I don't know. One person actually got mad at me for saying I don't know. Got mad. I got an email from somebody that said I'm an ass. Can't you even answer the question? I emailed back, do you want me to lie? I don't know what they say and what they do. I do know the numbers will be good year over year, but for all I know, they're going to miss by a penny or beat by 50 cents. So let me tell you what I think the good is and the bad is. We'll start with the bad. The bad is it's been getting overhyped again. The bad is it already has a $3.3 trillion market cap, and one has to ask, how much more can that go? And that is a very valid statement. The good. It's been AI and chips. There's been a lot of noise and a lot of news about chips and NVIDIA and all that crap going forward. I mean, recently, that's number one. And let me tell you the other part. The stock's done nothing in almost a year. The stock is trading today where it traded on June 18th of 24 and is still 5 points down of June 21st of 24 and is still 11% lower than the highs, all-time highs in January. So almost 12 months of no gains with good growth. So maybe all that time sets the stage for another move. So there's a little bit of good, little bit of bad, and we'll know tomorrow after the close. What you do need to know is the CEO will never, ever, 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 ever say anything bad. He's the most positive talker I have seen in many a moon. And that is not a rib on the guy. I'm not putting him down. But that is a fact. Do I have a prediction? I do not. We'll see how it goes. Do I own the stock? I do not. I don't want to own a stock that hasn't done anything in 11 months. And luckily for the bulls that have held on, that thing during the crash dropped down to $86. Closed that day, by the way, crash day, near 100. That's how crazy things have been. And of course it will have influence. What else happened today? Very nice move on a broad-based basis. Very good move. I'm looking at my screens right now. Economically sensitive stocks had a very strong day. And you know what I think? Caterpillar, United Rentals. The financials had a very strong day. The semiconductors, a very strong day. The restaurant stocks, a very strong day. Texas Roadhouse, Wingstop, Shake Shack, Brinker International, Darden Restaurants breaks out to new yearly highs. Interesting. What brought that on? I have no clue. The consumer confidence number came out, but I don't listen to that or even think about that. That's a moving target, and it includes markets, and the market's been better. Even oils bounced today. Retail had a good day also. So very good to see. I don't have a complaint. 10-year yield was down neatly and nicely. And let's hope it continues. And more importantly, let's hope the president does not announce any more tariffs. It's unnerving. And I've gotten more than one email from people that voted for him that are very pissed off over all the changes. Hey, tomorrow is another day, ladies and gentlemen. But that'll be the story this week, and I do believe rest of the week, NVIDIA, Salesforce.com, that's in the Dow also. How about Costco, Dell Computer, The Gap, Burlington, Best Buy. So you got a few important names coming at you this week, but also tonight, very important. The Knicks play Game 4. I went to Game 2 in Madison Square Garden. They lost the game. It wasn't my fault. And I must say, the pretzels at Madison Square Garden are not very good. But had a blast. Up next, this, that, and the other thing, and whatever else. This is the one and only Investor's Edge. Da-na-na. And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. In the news, Americans spent over $113 billion on lottery tickets last year, more than they spent on movies, books, concerts, and sports tickets. I would have thought actually would have been more. $113 billion. I just want you to remember a couple things, all my peeps. The greatest con and the greatest scam comes from our government, and that is the lottery. It's a scam. Think about this. It's a business. Let's use scratch-offs. Let's use one scratch-off. It is a business where they know they're going to sell a certain amount of scratch-offs and pay out a certain amount, guaranteeing them this amount of money they're going to make. The winners get paid by the losers, not by any entity, and that's it. Think about that. You have a business that has no risk on their end and only risk on our end, the taxpayers, the American public, while the government collects all this money. And they're very good at marketing. Florida used to have a marketing, an ad on TV, you never know. But of course you do know. Go look at the odds. And by the way, I think Mega Millions just went to $5 a ticket. $5 for a ticket. Powerball's $2. Both used to be $1 for a ticket. I just want you to remember this, because I must tell you, I'll be the first to tell you when the numbers get really big, I'll buy a few tickets. But it's like 280 million to 1. I read somewhere you can get hit by lightning twice, 2 days in a row at the same time, same place, and have better odds of that than you winning the lottery. Just want you to remember that. They've got you by the you-know-whats. And they know that when they put up in big numbers, 200 million. By the way, it's not. It's present value minus taxes. So it's 200. Present value is usually like 50, 60%. Minus taxes, you end up with about 40, 35% of the whole thing. You have to think about it. The government gets you on losing your you-know-what on the lottery, and then they tax you if you ever do win. Don't you love that? Anyway, we just want you to remember these things, especially if you can't afford it. That's all. And you know where they get you also? Because there are definitely winners. And what do? They highlight the winners. The one or two people that win big out of the bazillion people that lost. So just remember that. Just another little boondoggle from our wonderful government. And who the hell knows where all that money goes. Next on the news, the penny. The U.S. Treasury is given final decisions on pennies, and they're saying it creates a new problem. What they're going to do, they're trying to kill the penny. They'll stop minting new pennies and putting them into circulation by early next year. The problem is now businesses are going to have to round up or round down their prices to the nearest 5 cents. That's number one. And number two is, boy, this is going to make the nickel popular. And you lose more on a nickel than on a penny. The nickels lost 18 million from their production last year also. So both the pennies and nickels are not doing. By the way, I think there's other places around the globe that got rid of their pennies. I read that somewhere. I don't remember who. What have you? The penny's gone bye-bye. For how long, I don't know. That was in the news. And in the news, and I applaud the president. So don't say I'm one of these TDS guys. Every time I say critique the president, I get this Trump derangement syndrome. People ignore all the great things I say about him. I love that he's given that certain finger to places like Harvard and the rest. Without pulling punches, these colleges are Jew haters. They hate the Jews. And I'm finding it's been going on forever. And they prove it time and time again. You had the presidents of these Ivy League schools up on Capitol Hill saying, it depends on context. Anyway, really thrilled with him holding them to the fire to the point where Harvard is suing the president, the administration, in court. Good. Let him sue. These places are supposed to teach, not hate. These places are supposed to do the right thing, not allow a bunch of scumbags to call death to Jews on campus, and professors doing the same, being a part of it. So good on the president. In the news, I think the president has found out who Putin is. We've been telling you that all along. We've been telling you that Putin's been playing Trump for, whatever. And it would be anybody else, too, with not putting down Trump. It's just this guy is nothing but a murdering communist, authoritarian, whatever you want to call him, and he ain't going anywhere. He wants all of Ukraine, and he ain't going to stop. And he may talk nice and do a big smile, but he's a murderer. So the president better realize that and stop making nice. I think this has got a long way to go, unfortunately, which means more death and more destruction. And we hate seeing that. In the news. And last but not least in the news is the one question I get asked a ton of right now is the crypto. Because the president's getting involved. All I can tell you is that Bitcoin is acting well. It just broke to new highs. Others not so great. Do not forget that 32,000 coins are at zero. And we'll keep you on top of the situation as it keeps going. You have a great evening. Drive carefully. When you get home, do like we do. Quite simple. Make sure you hug your family. Make sure you hug your children. They will feel better. You will feel better. I promise. Stay well. Be well. Thanks for joining us. Peace out, all. Good night.